must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Punchline Africa TV opposes any form of terrorism, and our policy is very clear. We condemn Al-Shabaab, we condemn Boko Haram, we condemn Al-Qaeda, we condemn any remnants of Al-Qaeda cells that linger on this African continent, that maim people, innocent people. All these acts are not done by a particular religion. People have just picked a religion and used it. In Kenya, in East Africa, and in Africa, we should be vigilant. That is, now we don't know. You can be very, well equipped at your doorstep or at your gate, but you don't know up in the crowd when we are moving in town, in cities, in Dar es Salaam, in Mwanza, in Kampala, in Kigali, in Johannesburg. These people have come closer to our cities, in Nairobi. You might be moving and somebody just starts stabbing you. I think they have changed these tactics. So we must be vigilant ourselves as citizens of these countries in Africa. Together we shall one day wipe out all forms of terrorism that have actually widened the gaps or the gulf between the people, the religions, and the type of hatred that is coming out is not very, very good.
In the case of China, small reforms have been going on all the time in the political system. We fix problems here and there. But I said, the problem is the United States. Your political system was a product of pre-industrial era. And I made a forecast. I said, without significant, substantial political reform, my concern is, in your next elections, you will produce a leader worse off than George W. Bush.
That's
So then,
Yeah.
so it was you, it was not the Russians.
Yeah. So this is the Chinese humble advice we can offer. But China is a civilizational state. I remember when Henry Kissinger wrote his famous book on China, he started with this quote. He said, my goodness, look at this China. It's different. China uses this unique language, which started 3,500 years ago. It's 1,000 years earlier than ancient Greek, 1,500 years earlier than ancient Latin. But these two European languages were dead languages. Chinese are still using the same language. This line of culture and continuation of civilization, uninterrupted. So this is why we have, indeed, for instance, this whole idea of meritocracy. Why I say confident? I said with my debate with Professor Fukuyama, I said, if you look at the top leadership in China, we've just had the party's Congress, minimum requirement, 2 terms of provincial governor or similar position, which means you have to govern at least 100 million people, given the size of China, before you came to one of the top 7 positions, decision-making bodies. I said to Fukuyama, I said, with this Chinese methodology, meritocracy-based system, we can say with certainty, we can improve the system. There are problems, we can fix it. But we will not produce any leaders like George W. Bush. It's way below the Chinese bar. That's my point.
Viewers, those listening to this tape or this video, I want to bring to your attention that the politics of proxy wars in Africa is becoming real, and it has become a reality. I want to bring to the attention of the African states that time and time again we have fallen victims of proxy wars. We fight wars that are not ours. We fall in conflicts that are not supposed to be, don't help Africa, and they don't help our countries at all. The proxy war that is in East and Central and the Horn of Africa has been ignited, supported, equipped by France. It has been very real that the French government, quietly through its company called Total Oil, has been searching for resources around the triangle of East and Central Africa and Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. The LAPSET was one of them, which could have been a landmark project for the people of France. They withdrew from it. The Tanga to Mwanza, they made it, they withdrew from it. The search for oil and resources through Total Oil has brought us the dangers of a proxy war in the region. It is therefore very prudent for people of the region to understand the dynamics that we are going through. For example, in Rwanda and the Burundi conflict, there is a proxy war. We are fighting a proxy country. It has brought us to a war between the two countries, between Uganda and Rwanda and Burundi. There is a proxy war in Congo who is sponsoring a resurgence of rebels that are fighting President Tshisekedi because he was not supported by countries that we know very well. This type of strategy has happened in North Africa, where Libya has been reduced to rebels, where each faction, even the government supported by United Nations, is being bombarded by a rebel called Khalifa Haftar, who is funded by countries that we know. The question of Somalia and the Kenyan maritime presents a challenge, a test case for Africa and East Africa to stand firm and denounce the actions of countries that bring proxy wars and proxy politics in our region. It is therefore my humble submission that for this conflict, for this to end, we must do enough publicity, advocacy around the area to tell and explain to the international community why this problem is going to create an imbalance in the peace in the region, and the regional peace will be affected. It is therefore my humble submission that as a Ugandan whose troops, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers of other many millions Ugandans who are in Somalia, condemn any action by the Somali government to try to resolve issues that should have been resolved amicably as Africans within the African confines. I submit therefore that some of us will go a mile further to do now, from now onwards, to expose, to show the challenges of these countries that make us fight a proxy war in Africa. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, wherever you are in the African continent and wherever you are in the diaspora. Good morning. This is Punchline Africa Television
broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya, and in the political command center of Punchline Africa Television. In the headquarters of Africa, Punchline Africa Television, we have none other than Miriam Ogutu. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Miriam. This morning, we have a very crucial debate. A debate as to whether there is double-edged sword in the government of Somalia that wants to bite and fail the pacification of Somalia. First of all, I want to begin. Fred, in the last 6 to 7 months, the war in Somalia has changed goalposts. The government of Somalia seems to have changed its modus operandi. Instead of supporting AMISOM and supporting the efforts of the other agencies and other countries that have gone in Somalia to support them to help the pacification of Somalia, the return of Somalia to the world order. The government in Mogadishu has instead initiated a move towards fighting the same governments that went to Somalia to help them. Few weeks ago, the Kenyan government asked the international community to investigate the reports that were circulating in international media with concrete evidence that money was being channeled through so many sources, including those from Qatar, Turkey, and some other countries, Norway, and so on, that were trying to kill the peace that we are trying to build in Somalia. The Somalia crisis dates back in 1991, when Ziad Barre was toppled. The Americans came and did a half job, left it in our hands for us to solve. We have tried our level best. The nationals of Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, Djibouti, Ethiopia have all perished in Somalia. They have perished in the sense to bring up a better Somalia for the people of Somalia, the best generation that will come. But these efforts are being hampered by President Farmajo, Mohamed Farmajo, who himself has turned on AMISOM and turned on Kenyan troops and made them enemies. The shooting down of a plane yesterday, a Kenyan plane that was carrying medical equipment, is a climax of all the activities, underground activities that have been conducted, supplied, equipped, logistically by the government of Somalia. It is sad, therefore, for a government that we went to help, where we have lost human resources, material resources, we have lost very many people in our places, injured, killed because of the fight in Somalia. Ugandans and the Kenyans have paid a very high price for this type of liberation, to liberate Somalia from the hands of the terrorist organizations that are still in that country. It is surprising, therefore, to hear that the same government that we are helping has become a puppet government supplied by Qatar and Turkey, importing the Middle East type of operations into the region. This region goes on, and it is bringing quite a lot of difficulties for the people of the region. As I said, the shooting down of the plane that was carrying medical equipment to help the people of Somalia who are dying at huge numbers and are reported very badly by the government in Mogadishu, is a sign that there is some conspiracy between the militants who are government sponsored with those who are guarding in Baridera. The situation remains tense. We therefore leave it to the international community, to the African Union, to peace well-wishers, to find out the link and the thread that the the Qataris, the Turkish, the United Arab Emirates, the Norwegians, what role are they playing in destabilizing Somalia? We thank the troops on the ground, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Kenya People's Defense Forces, and the Kenya Defense Forces in Kismayo, who have kept peace despite the provocations of the government in Mogadishu. We like to take this opportunity as a Pan-African organization and organizations in Africa to call upon President Faramijo to stop these war-like activities against the same people, allies who came to liberate Somalia from the hands of terrorist groups that keep on coming and multiplying in Somalia. This is the double-edged sword of the Somali government. They work both sides, they cut both sides. If we are wrong, the world will see. Thank you. Over to you, Miriam.
All right, very well said there. Thank you so much, Doctor, for that. And indeed, you mentioned things that are very important and perhaps brought the attention of what is happening there in Somalia to the rest of Africa and indeed to the rest of the world. And even as you mentioned that very troubling incident that happened yesterday where the Kenyan plane carrying medical supplies to help Somalia in their fight against COVID-19 was shot at. This is a very aggressive, move. And so I have confidence that, of course, the government of Kenya will respond, appropriately. And this is not acceptable. This should not be acceptable because we are trying to help. We realize this COVID-19 is something that we all are in together. And Somalia, we've seen the numbers go very high. And so every person in the world, we're just trying to help as much as we can. And for that incident that happened there yesterday, really, that is very sad, and this also adds to some investigations that were carried out just a couple of months ago that Kenya investigated suspected links between Somalia's National Intelligence Security Agency and the Al-Shabaab terror group. And we had that conversation here, Doctor, a few weeks ago. And in a confidential report that suggested that the Al-Shabaab and the National Intelligence Security Agency have been jointly working to defeat the African Union mission in Somalia, that is the AMISOM. So when you look at that, and now you look at what happened there yesterday, it's quite unfortunate. I don't know what will be the future. Even after the maritime case, we know that is upgoing there between Somalia and Kenya in ICJ. But after that, what are the relationship between Kenya and Somalia? How can we perhaps build a better relationship moving forward? And why do you think Somalia finds it necessary to fight Kenya? Well, Kenya, for all the countries in the world, Kenya has been there for Somalia from the get-go.
Let me tell you frankly, Miriam, the government in Somalia is an axis of evil. Farmajo's government is an axis of evil. It has to be removed. There is no shortcut. The removal of that government. Kenya, if people are fearing to say it, we say it. They say it. We Africans, we have all lost. We have lost our people in Somalia. We have lost Ugandans, many of them. We have lost Kenyans, many of them. We have been injured. We have friends who have lost families. We have friends who have been beaten up. Bombs have hit us in capitals in Kampala and Kenya. We have a right to discuss the future of Somalia. The Somali issue needs a thorough discussion a thorough finding out what is taking place. Why is it that it is only Mr. Faramijo's government which has been so antagonistic? The rest of the two governments that were there, or three, since Mogadishu agreed to hold peace talks and start a transitional government, it has never quarreled with Kenya. Why is it that it is only Mr. Faramijo who is quarreling with Kenya? Why is it? That is a very big question for the people of Somalia to find out.
And a very important
and for
question.
us,
yes,
for us to sit down and say things are okay, and we can toast glasses of wine or orange or juice and say we are okay. It is not worth it. It is better to come down and speak the truth. The problem is the axis of evil. The government in Mogadishu is an axis of evil. It is an axis used by Qatar, by Turkey, to bring a colonial hangover, to import the warlike activities of the Middle East into the African continent. The extension of Al-Qaeda in Mozambique and the southern parts of Tanzania, which will grow into the bigger part of the main islands of Pemba and Zanzibar and the areas of Mutwara, is an extension of Qatar foreign policy, which funds terrorism across the world. It is not a lie anymore. It is now very evident that the person heading intelligence in Mogadishu is a member of the Qatari's intelligence system. It is also a fact that the person who is directing all these attacks against Kenya is being manned, supported, equipped, supplied by foreign governments that want to dismember the East African states and continue with a warlike situation.
Yes.
It is also a fact, as I finish, that the countries that went into Somalia, namely Ethiopia, Djibouti, Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, some of them are not seeing eye to eye. Especially Ethiopia can be toasting glasses with us, but Ethiopia is doing its own operations together with Farimajo. Djibouti, you can see it from the AU, from the United Nations, Security Council seat. Somalia is already with Djibouti, and they have lined up as Arab League to go and vote in Djibouti instead of Kenya. It is also a fact that Turkey has armed Somalia, trained over 1,000 pilots, Somalis, and against the regulations of United Nations Security Council of arming Somalia at this hour of the war. It is also a fact that Qatar continues to pay for the existence of the government of Mogadishu. Therefore, Qatar is the main beneficiary of the foreign policy, of a belligerent foreign policy that is sweeping across the continent, that is going to an extension. When they talk about the rebels in Mozambique, these rebels are Qataris. They are looking for gas, hot springs in the Beirut Triangle. Qatar must be condemned. We must speak out. Those who don't want to speak out, go to hell.
And also, just to add on what you just said there, Doctor, it is also worth noting that notorious Somali arms smuggler and the second in command in Al-Shabaab, Mohammed Said Atom, also right now lives in Qatar. Atom was included in a list of terrorist figures by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain in November 2017. And right now, he resides in Qatar there. And very important points there, Doctor, you've raised, because Kenya and Somalia, we have have been neighbors since the world was invented, right? And we've never had the magnitude of the problems that we're now seeing under the presidency of President Farmajo. Yes. So people
since the creation,
since the creation of the world, right? So, and we've never had, we've been there for each other, especially Kenya has been there for Somalia when it was going through its most difficult times, and the people of Somalia, and we have them here and we love them and we welcome them. They've come in, we have an enabling environment for them. There's a succeeding in their businesses and all that, and we appreciate that neighborly and brotherly coexistence between us and Somalia and the Somali people who are in this country, in the refugee camps and all over the country. They have been able to move in the Kenyan in the country that is Kenya, and we've never had a problem before like we have right now under the presidency of Farmajo. What has changed? Because these oil deposits that now they're using, Farmajo is using as an excuse to really for this bad relationship between Kenya and Somalia. These oil blocks were there even before Farmajo was in power. We've never had a problem with that. And also, Kenya did not invite itself to Somalia. Kenya was forced to go to protect its territory when Al-Shabaab was getting out of hand and was now coming into the country and causing a lot of insecurity. So Kenya did not just wake up one morning and decide, you know what, we are going to invade Somalia. That is not what happened. And so people should get their facts right. Kenya was forced to go in there and try to ensure that our borders were safe. And now through AMISOM, other countries felt it was very necessary through the African Union to form this bloc to ensure other countries also come in to help the Somali government. We are helping the Somali government, and right now 6 countries are in Somalia. Over 22,000 strong armies there from AMISOM are in Somalia, and we've lost countless lives through that war. These countries have lost countless lives. They have sacrificed their own to go there and pacify Somalia and help the government of Somalia. So to hear that the government of Somalia, the national intelligence of Somalia, is working in cahoots with the Al-Shabaab. The information that these other countries are giving Somali government, thinking they're helping Somali government fight Al-Shabaab, and Somali government uses that and gives the same information to Al-Shabaab, it's just mind-boggling. Doctor, where does this leave Kenya especially, and where does this leave the other AMISOM countries?
Let me be very honest. The points you have made are the points that we have been making all along. We have been saying it on these diplomatic leaks. We have been telling people the way the money is transferred from Qatar, it passes into some states in Africa, then comes through Kenya, and then goes out. We have been saying it. We are not interested in that money. We don't need it, but we're interested in the peace. We want peace to return so that the ordinary Somalis can have a life, cannot walk in the whole world being called refugees everywhere, being tormented, being stigmatized because they have no home. We want to create a home for the people of Somalia, a peaceful country, the one that shared Barre model, the one that fought for Africa, the one that stood for Pan-Africanism, the one that could give South Africans passports to go and fight apartheid. This is the country that we want, the return of the good old days of Somalia, the Somalis who used to come to our country in Uganda, who have settled there, who have made money, who have made huge amounts of money out of our country without discrimination. We want a country that sits with the neighbors. We want a country that is not belligerent. We want a country that does not fight. We want a country that can share a common existence of a border, that the goods on across the border, as Africa is seeking to unite, to move freely. We are not looking for an excluded state, a state of terror, sponsoring terror to come and destroy the people of the region. That is the pinnacle. That is any conflict resolution expert, like I am. Mr. Farmajo is watching me right now. I am happy you are watching on Twitter. Let me tell you frankly, normalize the relationship with your fellow presidents. Talk to Kenya. Calm down. What can't you ask one question? You are the only president quarreling with Kenya. The rest never quarreled with Kenya. Their families are in Kenya. Why is it that it's only you who quarrels? Because you are being used by external forces to bring discord in Africa. Because most of your people are being used, you have to redirect your intelligence strategy, not on the people in the region, but away from the region. Look for where these guys are coming and having arms to come and kill more Somalis, instead of looking for what Kenya should do again, that you should do against Kenya. That is the truth. The bottom line is east or west. We are all neighbors up to end. We are all together. We are united in a bond of Pan-Africans. We are united by the bond of being African. I don't know whether Farimacho feels that he's more American than he is more Somali.
Yes,
I don't know whether the Prime Minister Harrier
he feels they perhaps
feels
feel
that he's
more
Norwegian.
or maybe they're more
Whether he's
Arab
more-
than they are
Yeah.
Africans, which is very unfortunate. And sometimes they feel like that, which is quite unfortunate. Just a few of them. But also, Doctor, I think now it's very important for us to, because we've seen the efforts that even the AU chairperson last year through the AU leadership tried to mediate, the peaceful process, and was urging Somalia to even consider an out-of-court settlement that Kenya really has been going for, because Kenya understands we are neighbors. By the time you're taking me to the court, even in a relationship, in a work environment or in a marriage or whatever it is, by the time something goes to the court, then that is a totally different manner. That way, that the intentions there are different, and a different outcome, some level of acrimony. So Somalia, the AU was urging Somalia, can you come to the table? Can we speak about this? Can you and Kenya have a conversation so that, this case at the ICJ, you might, solve it amicably without necessarily relying on the ICJ. But Somalia was very adamant, and Kenya has always been pushing for this out-of-court settlement, for a peaceful, solution, to find a peaceful solution between Kenya and Somalia, because it is important. It is paramount. We are neighbors. There's no way Kenya is moving to the other side of the ocean. We are neighbors. We are stuck together. So we have to learn to live with each other. And one of those, to enable that we have a very, good relations, then, this case, if it were important for Somalia to have a peaceful, neighbor, with neighborliness with Kenya, then they would have considered an out-of-court settlement. But Somalia does not want even to hear that. And so Somalia right now should tell us, what is its intention? What is the intention of the leadership of Somalia? Do they care about a peaceful coexistence between Kenya and Somalia? Yeah, the intentions, yes.
We're talking of government in Somalia. Which one?
The leadership of Farmajo.
No, there is no government. Look here, there is no government there. The government is controlled, supported, equipped, supplied, and above all, directed by Qatar and Turkey. So there is no government there.
So Farmajo is just a puppet. The people pulling the strings. Okay.
Yes, if they tell him, we shall be sending $200 billion.
You need to jump
we
that
want
high.
You to go, and
yes.
He jumps high.
He asks how high. Okay.
That's not a government. It's a government in piracy. It's like a ship moving. There's no government in Mogadishu. The government that was there was of Sharif Ahmed Sharif. That one you could see a statesman. And the other one of the other first president, you could see a statesman. You could see somebody who has Ubuntu, Utu. Uyana Utu. Sharif had humanity. Even when he was in the Islamic courts, you could see Mogadishu was disciplined. This guy here who arrests journalists, tortures them, kills them. They went and even killed one journalist working for another company. Yesterday, they stabbed him. This type of things have to be condemned. This man should be banned from traveling to international areas. You cannot be killing journalists and you say, I should keep quiet as an investigative journalist. You are killing journalists who are our professional. We have to call you out, Mr. Ventilator robber. You robbed a ventilator. One ventilator was ordered to be taken to his house. What type of president is this? What? What is it? Huyu mtu alitokea wapi? Where did he come from? From America. And he has come to Africa to disrupt, then later on, go back to America. Another one, that short one called Harriet, that the prime minister. This one used to work here in the refugee council, Norwegian refugee. We know what he did here. We don't want to say them now. But time is going to come when we are going to say them. And he will not travel in some of these parts. He will not. You know, every time when I talk, these guys think that we talk. You wait. You wait. Remove that case. That case in The Hague is your Waterloo, Mr. Harriet. It's your Waterloo. You have pushed that case to dismember East Africa, to dismember the entire Africa. So one day, we shall come back to relook to first how you operated in Kenya. We know how you did, what you did here. So chunga hapa, Mr. Harriet. Yes, that the Prime Minister what? You sell the whole thing to the Norwegians. Now Somalis are saying our oil. Which oil do you have? It has been already sold by that Prime Minister. Yes, it's gone. So if you are going to fight, you are going to fight over an island which is empty. The owners are very far.
Because really, Somalia as a country does not stand to benefit from this deal that the leadership there has cut, especially when it comes to the oil deposits. And Doctor, in that report that Kenya investigated, let me just read a part of it that is very, very disturbing so that our viewers can understand the premise of our conversation today. Now, a top National Intelligence and Security Agency official is named as the main contact person who has been in constant communication with the militant group Al-Shabaab. He is suspected of facilitating the Al-Shabaab through financial and material support, including armaments and critical information on AMISOM troop movement, particularly the Kenyan contingent. So they're very particular. They're targeting Kenyan contingent. One of the latest financial facilitation to the Al-Shabaab from NISA, that is the National Intelligence and Security Agency, was a check that amounts to $1.5 million that equates about 158 million Kenya shillings, signed by the intelligence official. Using the NISA networks, the official also identifies soft targets for Al-Shabaab along the Kenyan border. And then you wonder why.
You don't need to wonder why. You wonder why, what we are doing with these guys.
Yes.
Let's go for it.
Have they not declared a war on us?
You know what? There is one thing that I like about Museveni. Museveni, in one of the speeches with African Union, and Your Excellency, His Excellency President Museveni, thank you very much. I still remember the speech. He said, we in Uganda, we have the capability to pacify Somalia. If you give us time, your ears, and the support, we shall pour in troops, and we shall push these guys to Indian Ocean. By now, we would be thinking of hunger, but not thinking of guns. Had people listened to Museveni, when he went into Somalia, this country would not have this stupidity of a man called Faramijo. We would have a leader who works with other African countries. Uganda was capable of sending in numbers and numbers. There's one way militarily you can send in numbers that can fight. For every 200 of these guys, you give them 600 of our men. Yes, casualty will be there. Americans have finished the war in Tehran, in Iraq. Is there a war there? Is there a war in Iraq? Because they use numbers. Why are we using half measures and giving a government that is stealing from its own people, that is gunning down aeroplanes that are bringing food to serve the people? Why? Because we have delayed with the strategy of Somalia. We've delayed. There are three things in the conflict resolution. And I want to teach the students watching this, those political science students who are studying conflict resolution mechanisms. 1, the heart. 2, the stomach. 3, the brain. If you lack one of these, if you miss one of these, you cannot resolve a conflict. Time has come for us to ask Somali people, is it the stomach missing? Is it the stomach missing? Because the two, they have the same. What unites the people of Somalia is religion, language, customs, behavior. They are the same. They speak the same language. That means the brain. They believe in one God, one religion, Islam. That's a good one. The heart. Is it the stomach that is creating chaos? Miriam, are you seeing where we are heading? Maybe the stomach. So how do we solve the conflict? Because condemning alone does not help. Now I'm talking as a scholar of international conflict resolution mechanism. How do you solve the conflict of Somalia? Give them the food, the stomach. Maybe they lack the stomach is empty. You get my point? They have the brain and the heart. These are together. They are all nomadics. Nomadism, politics of nomads is very complicated. Very complicated. It doesn't grow. It unites. They are united by one final destiny, the pastures. Pastoral democracy is termed in political science, which I read up to the highest level, better than Faramijo. Because I don't think he read anything beyond his head. So just here. Yeah, that's the truth. You need to give them something which is missing. And the earlier we get this thing that is missing, and prepare what we call, for any country in the world, you must prepare an exit strategy. Yes, the AMISOM is preparing exit strategy. Thank you.
Yes, and just yes.
But how do you prepare an exit strategy when the people that you are preparing, they are beginning to show you some signs that they will not be together when you leave? Those are the questions for my students that are watching. By the way, Miriam, of late I've recruited several students, about 70 of them in a class worldwide. They do listen to diplomatic leaks, especially those of international relations and aspect of political science. So they do listen from the behind on Twitter handle, and they have been sending in some messages, asking several questions.
Okay. And speaking about...
And I am very pleased that at this time of COVID-19, I am able to deliver. Is it the heart, the brain, or the stomach? If it is the stomach, over to you, Miriam.
Yes, and just needed to add on your exit strategy, because countries must have an exit strategy, and it has been put in place several times. The goalpost has been moved because of the prevailing circumstances in Somalia, and the AMISOM forces have thought if we left earlier, that will be premature, and every work that we put in there, every sweat and blood, and the lives that we've lost there would be in vain, because Somalia is not stable enough, and they don't have the capacity, the army there, to look after the country there in Somalia. So the current mandate should have expired, or is expected to expire on the 31st of May, a few days from now, 2020, the reduction of troop levels to a maximum of 19,000 that was done by February earlier this year. Do we see really the exit happening on the 31st of May? Is Somalia prepared to be left by itself to its own chaos?
First of all, Miriam, to exit and go where? And if
just come back home.
Exit. Have we achieved what we wanted to achieve?
That is the question.
Let me ask my friend Mandeira, who is the AU front man, a friend of mine, a great person, a great listener. We solved the Uganda problem together. Mr. Mandeira, he's a very, very good person, 100%. He understands, he knows the gymnastics of all rebel groups, because he was a Frelimo himself. So he understands that there is something missing in this whole strategy. Why is it that we hear of reports of Ethiopians teaming up with Farimajo group faction wanting to destabilize the kingdom? Where is it coming from? We hear someone on Twitter was writing that the people who shot down the plane are Ethiopian troops, not Somalia. Okay, they are shooting from whose territory?
Who gave them the mandate?
Who controls the air transport?
Yes.
The tower, which allows the planes to march where in the airspace? It is in Mogadishu. So who was not this? Who could not inform the people on the ground where the plane was going to land? That this is a friendly plane carrying goods for the humanitarian purposes. Those are questions for people to answer. Since international agencies are going to go in, we leave it to that way. But the truth is this: time has come for the countries that are in Somalia and the people listening, the policymakers, to evaluate a strategy. Why is it that after almost 10 years of our going inside there, we have not achieved, but we continue to get multiple problems? What is the problem?
Well,
time has come. If it is the leadership in Mogadishu, we remove it. We tell the world we can't work with it. The people, the voting patterns in Somalia are very easy, Miriam. The MPs sit down. I told you I have about 97 MP friends who know me. They are now listening. They know me by face. I filled their forms in London for asylum as refugees. They will not say they don't know me. They are here. They are in parliament. What you say, but they don't know me. Then they will be, their hands will get leprosy. because I did it in Streatham High Road. My officers were there. Most of them who established businesses in Streatham, in Croydon, in the southeast London. I helped them. There's none of the Somalis who doesn't know me. I always speak my mind out. Let them get the act together. What is it that they want? Instead of now this fight that is going to cause problems for the people who need help at the moment.
Yes, and well, it's all well, but I think the challenge there, Doctor, and you've said it, the challenge there, because we thought initially when we went there, we thought, okay, let's help Somalia government, have stability, fight Al-Shabaab, and make sure that the country is back to its former glory, and the people of Somalia can be proud to come back home and just go on their lives as normal. So we came in there with an intention, the AMISOM team, to help Somalia government. But now Somalia government is the one that is cohabiting with the enemy, and we've been wondering who has been supplying the uniforms, army uniform to Al-Shabaab, who has been supplying Al-Shabaab with the armory, and now we see apparently the National Intelligence Security Agency there in Somalia is the one that has been supplying Al-Shabaab with everything that they need, the itinerary, everything that they need, including funding the activities and giving them money. That it's not easy for the rest of the countries. Why has an AU acted upon this information and hold Somalia accountable, or the United Nations?
Time has come to re-evaluate, review the words that I'm going to say for my students listening, or for those viewers listening. Fatigue evaluation is the danger to a mission you set out to get. If you don't do a fatigue evaluation of any exercise, is it worth for us to stay in a situation which is turning against ourselves? Somali nationalism is a very bad act. When it turns on you, you can see the type of comments that they are making here. That is pure nationalism. They will never say our people are wrong. They say we are wrong. Somali nationalism turned on Ethiopia. Ethiopians left shoes halfway in Mogadishu. Somali nationalism turned on Americans. Americans left even choppers and air military hardware in Mogadishu. Somali nationalism could turn on us and make us, the worst dangerous people. Yet, we went there to help. Time has come to evaluate, to see step by step what can be done. But we cannot say we live today without pacification, east or west. We must pacify, bring back Somalia to the level that the people of Somalia would be happy, would be able to share the fruits of what other African heads of state and the governments and other states are sharing in the AU, the world order, in United Nations, and wherever it is. You asked the question about the United Nations. What can we do? A resolution should go back to table whether United Nations itself would like to replace the troops that are there. Why has the United Nations feared? That's another question for a day. It's a long journey, double standards. Why has the United Nations said we want a United Nations peacekeeping force that will be in Mogadishu? Why? They have allowed us. We are doing it. At times they pull and push. Money does not come for the sustenance of the troops. There is not enough resources to keep enough men, boots on the ground. These are some of the obstacles that have held the war back, and it cannot end. So let's think. Let's go back to that same man called UN and ask him, what do you want us to do in Somalia? Thank you.
All right, and one of our viewers here, Sidonio Jivandas, thank you so much for joining us again today. And you're saying Somalia, it has been so long. To be honest, I lost hope in Somalia's case. So we cannot give up. Still, we have a country to save. I know it has been a long time, and people have helped, and lives have been lost, and Kenya is one of the casualties there from that chaos in Somalia. And we thought going in there we were helping the government of Somalia. Now it appears as from what I'm learning from this information of Somalia's National Intelligence Security Agency working with Al-Shabaab, I don't know if I'll be wrong to say that perhaps Somalia as a country has declared war on us and we don't know, because they're attacking us through Al-Shabaab.
Yes. Yes. You don't need to doubt that. You should say it with all the strength.
With all the confidence.
There is no, look, Nairobi should not even pretend that there is a relationship. What has remained in this relationship is a symbol, symbols of flags and the embassy. But there's no relationship between Nairobi and Mogadishu. It doesn't exist. The body language tells it all. These guys don't want us.
Yes.
These guys are not good people. These guys, I saw them when I was in The Hague. I went to The Hague on this case. I went to one of the hotels where I stayed in The Hague. When I was doing the ICJ case, it was full of Somali intellectuals, Lob and the Qatar people, with all these things worn on their heads. They were there paying bills from tea, from everything. They were paying bills for cars. We are done. We are finished. But you know what? We are finished. I was there. They didn't know. I was with them. The delegation of Somalia to the ICJ. I saw who was handling them. Even the people, the drivers there are Qataris. So what Kenya should do is to seek an audience with Qatar to ask Mr. Qatar, what do you really want?
With Kenya. Why
Yes.
are they importing the chaos in the Middle East here in Africa and playing their
Yes.
proxy wars here?
That is one way we are not going to talk, because there is nobody to talk to in Mogadishu. Who do you want to talk to? This is Farimajo here. You talk to him and he'll tell you what. He will tell you he's going to consult. And whom does he consult? Qataris.
The sponsors.
So let's talk to the Qataris themselves.
And speaking about talking, Doctor, even as we continue to Kenya, wondering what's really happening there on Sunday, 3rd of May, the government of Kenya thwarted planned attacks by Al-Shabaab during the holy month of Ramadan, which would have seen a number of abductions and hijacking of government vehicles, according to a confidential security brief. And the attacks by a Somali-based militant group are part of the campaign to force President Uhuru Kenyatta to withdraw KDF troops from the country. The move was made possible by the collaboration of the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Intelligence Service here in Kenya. So we see, even as seem to seeking to look for a solution, but the other side, Kenya thwarted another attack that was imminent in the country by Al-Shabaab. So they're actively planning.
Yeah, they have never lost activeness. They are always active. And what do you say, if they have all the money, the dollars, they can buy anything that they want. What is difficult? They are doing businesses in these countries. In Kenya, they have businesses. In Uganda, they have businesses. In Qatar, they have businesses. In Turkey, they are being paid. They have businesses. So what can they do? They are now in Mozambique. They have opened up another channel of causing mayhem in the people of Mozambique. It is a determination to talk to this country called Qatar. I'm telling you, if somebody in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs does not listen to me, mark the date. 5th of May 2020. Sikia hapo. Asante.
All right, 5th of May 2020. Doctor, do we end our show as we wait for the Diaspora Dispatches coming up next? And I hope today you'll be around. You'll stick around for the Diaspora Dispatches.
No, I will beg to leave.
Okay, you'll be back at 2 or at 3?
At 3 with, I can well, if you, for you, because
yes,
you look so beautiful today.
Stop.
let me stay a
all
bit.
Right.
But I'll come in when you have whatever subject you want me to talk about, I'll do so. But today, as far as diplomatic leaks is concerned, I've done my best.
And
I just beg.
Just before
Yes.
we leave, a question here by our viewer Abdullahi Aden. Thank you so much there for watching, even though you're really calling on Kenya to move out of Somalia. And he's asking here, struggle with your situation in Kenya, and why are Uganda and Ethiopia not in the muddle? Has he not been listening to what has been happening? Ethiopia and Eritrea wants to replace Kenyan soldiers there. So they're in the middle of it. And they want to replace Kenyan, Burundian, Ugandan soldiers there. Do you not follow this story in Somalia? Our dear viewer there, Abdullahi Adin.
Maybe he doesn't know, but why are Uganda? Because Uganda, you see, why Uganda is spared all this is because Uganda has a way of dealing with the situation of Somalia.
But still, they don't want... yeah.
Yes. Yes,
from the reports we've been getting from Somalia, the president of Somalia wanted to compel the Kenyan soldiers, Ugandan soldiers, Burundian soldiers, 3 countries particularly, to leave these areas. And as we know, Ugandan troops are deployed in the Sector 1, which is the regions of Banadir and Lower Shebele. The Kenyan forces responsible for Sector 2, comprising Lower and Middle Juba, and also the Burundian soldiers there. They want them out, and they're in charge of Sector 5. So what Somalia wanted, and they have been in talks with Ethiopia, is for Ethiopia and Eritrean soldiers, those two, to replace these 3 countries' troops there. So that is what has been happening there on the down low, Abdullahi. Yes, in case you don't know.
Miriam, it raises the question, these guys don't look at us as Africans. They look at us as invaders. I can conclude my statement there.
All right. Thank you.
You can see why they are going to Eritrea and Ethiopia. They have the same color.
And very interesting, because I've heard
they look at Ugandans, Burundi, Kenyans, we are like invaders.
Okay.
You see, most of these countries, you have brought something before you go.
Yes.
I think we have 1 minute.
Yes.
Before you go, most of these countries from North Africa, Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, they don't think they are Africans.
Yes, and that is the problem.
So let leo tuambiane ukweli.
And they're not
God was not wrong. No, God was not wrong to put the Red Sea. The Red Sea divides us with those men that you are worshiping in Qatar. The Red Sea puts us here together on the continent as Africans.
We're stuck together. Get used to it.
Yes. So let them here today.
All right.
They are like the South Africans. When you travel to South Africa, the diplomats tell you, hello, Dr. Mathanga, welcome to Africa. Welcome to Africa. So Nairobi is not Africa. One thing since we're on diplomatic leaks, which has caught my attention, is Ramaphosa appointing Strive Masiyiwa to be the one looking for what What is wrong with people in Africa?
Sorry, no, finish that. I want to hear. What happened? I did not get that.
For the one going to look for COVID-19 equipment.
Yes. He might find it. He has the money.
You see now.
Ramaphosa. Sorry, Strive is Zimbabwean. What looking for which country?
Strive is a Zimbabwean who has South African nationality and a British nationality. He's a businessman who stays in London.
But we know he is
now,
from Zimbabwe, yes.
Strive Masiwa is a friend of Bill Gates.
Yes.
And they do their things.
I mean, he's a billionaire.
He's a great friend of late Kofi Annan.
Okay.
They are sponsored mercenaries. Kofi Annan, the late Obasanjo. This is the same group. Now, Ramaphosa, as a chairman of AU, is not consulting the spirit. He goes to appoint Strive Masiwa, who says he was in China with Bill Gates. They were getting this. You see, it now qualifies the thing we have been talking about, that this vaccine was meant for us. Doctor, and it is going to cause a lot of problem on African continent.
I still want to understand.
You put your eyes there.
He has what is Strive Masiwa supposed to do? Bring us more of the equipment. So what is the role that he's been appointed to do?
Yes, that he goes to look source equipment from the private sector.
Okay.
Strive Masiwa, what is the private sector? The private sector is George Soros. George Soros. African presidents, watch out. Mr. President, watch out. George Soros. Who is Strive Masiwa? George Soros. If you see George Soros, you see Strive Masiwa. You see Kofi Annan. They are like that. You see Obasanjo, who always looks money for. Obasanjo, if you said that there are $200 million in underground, the Indian Ocean, he will go. He will drop out of his plane and enter to go to look for the money. Obasanjo.
Deep sea diving.
Obasanjo on cash, on money. He has sold Africa. So when you get Strive Masiwa, add him to Obasanjo, add him to the late Kofi Annan, Nana Kofi, the son of Dr. Kofi Bushia. You have seen the giants. Then you add on Zuma, the French puppet president of South Africa. Then you are done. This world is finished. This world is not my home.
Zuma is having his own problems right now with corruption and all that. It's catching up with him, and maybe.
So you people be careful.
Yes. We might see some.
Ramaphosa is making a very big mistake of appointing Strive Masiwa as the man to look for equipment. You see now.
On behalf of African Union.
The whole thing is becoming Yashara, Ebesha. And I've been telling you this, that this vaccine will be rejected because Bill Gates and the wife, they have come up to say Africa must take it, take it. Swallow. I want to go to Madagascar for the drink.
No, but Kenya has agreed. I don't know which are these drugs that Kenya has agreed, but Kenya has agreed for a human trial to start in Kenya for two agencies. So which one is that?
Yeah.
Is this the one that we should be worried about, or which one is these trials that is expected to start in Kenya?
No, the trials for Kenya are different.
Human trials. Those are different.
They have nothing to do with these malcontents, like who have money already. God has helped them to make money. Then they want to use the money to molest the people who have no money. For a woman to wake up in her mouth, oh, Africa will be bad. Oh, Africa will be bad. What about your children? Why don't they be bad first? Rudisha Uko. That's why God alienda huko sana.
Yes, and
I don't want to.
yes. Melinda Gates there, in case you're wondering what Doctor is talking about, Melinda Gates a few weeks ago, but nearly close to a month ago right now, said that what keeps her awake at night and gives her very sleepless nights is Africa, because she was saying in the next few weeks, which has been since she spoke, we shall be seeing dead bodies in the streets all over Africa. So, and God is good.
Why do people wish Africa very bad?
Because
are we not sure?
We already
are we not? Mm-hmm. Now, where you count where there are more dead bodies, count and see. Are we not human? Me, the worst part of all this, Miriam, as you enter the same news, because what you are going to do
is the same thing. We can continue.
It is the same.
Yes, we can continue, Doctor. Yes.
Of the same news.
Let's continue. Yes. Let's continue the conversation. Yes.
People are very annoyed. Mm-hmm. People don't know what to do. Then you are bringing in a man like a Strive Masiwa to come and go and look for equipment. Mm-hmm. It can now correct. They can now connect the story.
But maybe because maybe because money is attracted to where money is. So when he goes there with his billionaire language, they will probably cooperate better. That was the thinking of, I'm assuming, the AU chairperson there, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, President of South Africa.
Can I tell you one thing? As I go back to have a rest, then come back when you need me. Mm-hmm. It is too early in a place where I am now. So I will come back, and I want to tell you one thing. In South Africa, mm-hmm. there is only one leader mm-hmm. in South Africa. Mm-hmm. One leader in South Africa that we lost.
Mandela?
No.
Mbeki?
No. Go ahead.
Who else?
Chris Hani.
Mm-hmm.
Lost Chris Hani. May his soul rest in peace, Chris Hani. And the killers of Chris Hani, may they be found one day. And let them be haunted. Mm-hmm. If we had Chris Hani, mm-hmm. South Africa, and the people followed Chris Hani, South Africa would not be a laughing stock today. Mm-hmm. Apart from the apartheid regime, mm-hmm. infrastructure, show me one road that since 1994, these governments have done. Zero. Mm-hmm. I rest my case.
Well, if they found the killers of Samora,
I go home.
Yes.
I go home.
Okay.
Very nicely.
Okay. All right.
Let's meet at 3 p.m. East African Standard Time.
Very well. And I'll be meeting our viewers in the next after the break for the latest news in the continent, and we shall be looking at the statistics as they stand right now in the continent. Thank you so much. So I'll see you very shortly.
And don't forget, can you announce that? Don't forget, Radio Punchline Africa is on fire. Uh-huh. Radio Punchline Africa is on fire. All the soldiers in Kismayo, listen to the radio. Send us your messages for any type of music. All the soldiers in Mogadishu, listen to the music. Radio Punchline Africa. Lingala, South African, Zimbabwean, Nigerian music.
I even had some very nice Somali music there. Somali music, very good. I can't remember the group, but very good there. Yes, I did. I heard.
Yes, mm-hmm. We have it.
We have represented, yes.
The Punchline group has that radio. Relax. Relax.
For our soldiers in Mogadishu.
Yes, relax. Don't be bored. While you watch this way, one eye, dance to the music. Dance to the music. That gives you encouragement at this hour of COVID-19. Thank you very much. God bless you. Bye-bye. Bye.
All right, I'll see you with more news from the continent in a short bit. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the other side of the break.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.